Recently, there's been a serious situation involving the Amazing Digital Circus fandom and the show's creator Gooseworx. Goose made a couple statements which upset fans, leading to a lot of hate getting sent her way. All of this culminated in Goose issuing an apology and deleting her Reddit account. Like usual, I'll go through what happened, giving context for anyone who isn't aware, and then I'll lastly finish off with my personal thoughts. This also shouldn't need to be said, but don't harass anyone mentioned in this video, especially Goose, and make sure to watch until the end. Thank you. So, episode 8 of the Digital Circus comes out next month, and fans have been discussing what's going to happen and their opinions on things. A few days ago, a clip from a livestream Goose was on with her friends went viral. Goose gave her thoughts on some complaints she's received, mainly about Pomni and Jax being the main characters in the show. I'll roll the clip.
I'm gonna say something that may be a vent or something, but like, going into this series, I never expected one of the things that people would get mad at me for would be making the show focus on the two main characters. I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could get mad about that. It's like building up the show to be about Pomni and Jax. It's like, oh, people are actually really upset about that. I'm sorry.
I think maybe because I don't realize that Jax is like one of the two main characters, you know, because he gets introduced to like the group of five, so it just seems like you're giving one of the other characters of the cast more attention than the other ones, and that might be...
I mean, I think people don't know where it's going, though.
Yeah.
I've seen people get mad about their predictions that just aren't true, and I'm like, oh, well, just hold out a little bit. Like, I swear, it's all for something.
This has been widely known info for months now, and I've mentioned it in plenty of videos, but Goose has a Reddit account called Gooseworx. She would give hints on some future lines and discuss things. It was a comfy place to find out her opinions about the show. 24 days ago, one Redditor on r/thedigitalcircus made a post about how the ending of the show should be about Jax healing or going in a better direction. Goose replied, "What if the show was about someone who's too stubborn to give up on someone who's too stubborn to be saved? That would be crazy." So what she's saying here is that basically Pomni wants to save Jax, but Pomni is too stubborn to give up on him. Similarly, Jax is too stubborn to open himself up to Pomni and let himself be saved. So just further information pointing towards the main focus of the show being Jax and Pomni. Over on r/the Amazing Digital Series, which is basically just another Digital Circus subreddit, one fan made a post about their complaints regarding Ragatha. This post is genuinely really well written. Feel free to pause and read in your own time. I actually agree with a lot of the things included here, but the crux of the post is that the pilot sets up the story around Pomni, Ragatha and Jax. Each character gets their own arcs and plot points, except for Ragatha, who basically gets left out. There's 2 episodes left, so there's not much time to flesh her out, and that fans giving fair critique are being incorrectly labelled as having poor media literacy. Goose replied, "Do people really think Ragatha's not going to get any development in the final 2 episodes? Self-explanatory, confirming that Ragatha will get development in the final 2 episodes. She got 1 downvote on this post." Over on Twitter, Goose made a tweet about how the amount of art of Jax being tortured went down after he tried to end himself. In a reply, she says, "I've considered never touching this franchise again with a 10-foot pole." This is also more general, but recently there's been criticisms of the show for the way the merch focuses on Jax and Pomni. The latest example being the video about the upcoming convention that Glitch will have a booth at. Pomni and Jax take part along with the protagonists Andy and Frankie from Knights of Guinevere. So again, just further fuel for the fire that Jax and Pomni are the main characters. So after everything I said, there was a lot of fair criticism about Goose's statements. However, this quickly spiraled from normal critique to outright anger and hatred. A lot of these posts have now vanished into thin air, but they were basically angry about the fact that Pomni and Jax are the main characters. There were some posts bringing up that Goose has spoiled the story or created too high expectations for fans based on her past comments. The post she made years ago about each episode being centered around a character was mentioned, since a lot of fans expected 5 to be Ragatha's episode like Goose said, but instead focused on Jax. I noticed this one myself, but in the original trailer for the pilot, it specifically introduces the characters as Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, and everyone else. It's those 3 specifically who get introduced. So I think this is further evidence on why people assume the show had 3 main characters instead of 2. It's not necessarily anyone's fault for believing this way. The hate got too much for Goose and she deleted her Reddit account. Shortly after, she made 2 posts on Blue Sky. Her first one reads, "I'm so stressed all the time. I want to feel creative passion again." So obviously she's feeling very stressed and burned out. In a follow-up she says, "I'm trying my hardest to make the show good. I'm sorry about anything I've said on streams. I really don't want to hurt anyone." Goose deleted those posts too, and that's everything so far. So with the context and the drama itself covered, let's get into my thoughts on it all. So there's a lot to unpack here, we'll go through each part bit by bit. Firstly, there's Jax and Pomni being the main characters. I'm actually really shocked that anyone didn't see this coming. Each glitch show has a central protagonist who takes the main stage, but they're usually always accompanied by partners or sidekicks who are nearly just as important. Characters like En, Mud, and Gwen play a big role in the story just like the main characters do. The label doesn't necessarily describe everything. At least to me, it was abundantly clear from the get-go that Pomni was the protagonist, while Jax was the durotagonist. You can tell this from the way the show focuses on the two characters. Pomni's door is literally opposite to Jax's. However, I think it's totally valid for people to criticize the way things have been laid out, especially the lack of Ragatha. Ragatha is probably my favourite character in the show, I love her. However, the way the story focuses on her, especially with 5, has her feeling a bit sidelined in the plot. Like Goose says, she'll get development in the final 2 episodes. That's fantastic, but it's totally valid for people to give good faith criticisms about her role, especially that Reddit post that was made. What is totally unacceptable is people losing their minds and sending hate to anyone, especially Goose. The insane people will obviously be the minority. The digital circus fandom is generally pretty well behaved. However, these crazy rent-free haters have spoiled the fun for everyone because Goose feels bad about the whole thing and is now second-guessing statements she's made. Her conversations on Reddit and live streams will never be 100% accurate. It's a spur-of-the-moment thing. It's totally nonsensical to go after the author of the show, the person who wrote the story, for saying who they think are the main focus of the story. It's unacceptable to send hate to Goose or anyone for being a fan of the story and how things are going. It's despicable. Goose's Reddit account is now deleted, so any past and future statements she made are gone. Fans have lost a really valuable resource and it's genuinely a massive shame. I will say though that I think it's probably a good idea for Goose to step away and take a step back. Responding to criticism directly, especially on websites, is generally a bad idea. It's not healthy to try and argue with people about things because at the end of the day, the author knows more about the source material than anyone else. Goose knows where the story is heading, but the fans don't. Fans are operating on what they know so far, so of course they don't know the full story. It's reasonable for people to say that right now Ragatha's been left out, because we don't know what happens to her in future episodes. This is a similar sort of thing that's happened with VivziePop and still happens to my knowledge. It's never good for a creator to respond to these criticisms on public platforms, because it usually never ends well and makes them look worse as a result. It's also just sort of a minefield to reveal info on streams or posts anyway, because regardless of what you say, it will upset people. Fans being angry about Pomni and Jax being the main characters was to be expected, but I don't think anyone was ready for the amount of hate and drama it caused. So, with everything covered, what do I think? Personally, I think there's one party that's clearly in the wrong here. Goose was just talking about a show she's passionate about, and fans were just giving their fair critique of a show that they love. The people that are absolutely in the wrong, however, are the haters. It's never okay to get up in arms and harass a creator because the story is going in a way you don't like. So that's everything I'd like to say on this topic. So what do you think? Did you manage to see this unfold? Let me know your thoughts down below. Like always, thanks for watching.